I just got done soaking this Griswold skillet. It's a griddle skillet, they call it. This one's made by Griswold. I just went through and did some research on it, and Griswold went out of business in 1957, and then they sold everything to Wagner. Griswold is made in Erie, Pennsylvania, and Wagner is made in Sydney, Ohio, which they're really not that far apart as far as geography goes. There's also, I said in an earlier video where I picked up a 1925 version of a Ward's cast iron, Montgomery Ward waffle iron, and how the parts interchange with the Wagner model that I have upstairs. So then I start back to the history. I found out that Wagner has at one time there were two Wagner companies. They were run by relatives of each other. Then they combined. They went through and they used the word Wagner. They used the word WagnerWare. They used a few different combinations of this. But if you find a WagnerWare with the cursive W, this is generally made in the early 1900s, generally around 1915 to 1920. But Wagner, at that time, they branched out and they made cast iron for a bunch of different companies. This is a Puriton number 5, and this pan was made by Wagner for the Sears and Roebuck Company. So if you find any Puriton cast iron, that's actually a Wagner. It was made by Wagner with a different name, but it's still a really good piece of cast iron. I brought this one down to show you these lines right here. Somebody's gone through and scraped the seasoning off the bottom of this pan, and that gives you an example of what this one looked like when I started. This pan here is this dates from based on this logo and the way these letters are arranged and the style of the printing. This logo puts this one at about the same age as these 4 pans. They're all 1900 through 1920, or actually this one is 1925, which fits into the same period. Just bring it to before 1930. But it's I soaked this in the electrolysis. This was so full of seasoning, or basically burnt on grease, which makes the entire pan non-stick. But this was so thick that this pour spout right here was completely full. You could tell that there was supposed to be one there from the outside indent, but the inside was filled completely. which is one of the main reasons for me to go through and soak it. I just took all of that off. This one is about a 32nd of an inch thick on the back of this one, but the inside is still good. There's a little bit of buildup along the edges, but I can deal with that. This one has got a tiny amount of surface rust on that side, but just a little bit of re-seasoning, and it'll be good. You can tell where this had been seasoned on the bottom, and then it's kept its seasoning on the side, except for a tiny little bit. So this one here is this is a no-name, but you can really tell how somebody has just scrubbed the living crap out of the bottom of this pan and taken all the seasoning off, but it's still caked on real hard, real thick on the sides. So I'm really debating about stripping this completely off too, but this isn't a pan that I'm actually using right now, and the seasoning is keeping the rust off of it, so I might just leave it alone. This pan is in good shape still too, so I think I'm just going to use this for camping, and I'll just throw some grease on the bottom and cook it on. It's missing a little bit on the side too, but that's really not a huge issue. Inside is the important place. But what I'm going to end up doing, I have to re-season this. The cast iron waffle maker, and this one here, which is the griddle. I call it a breakfast griddle because it'll you can start off cooking your bacon. It'll hold the grease so that you can drop your eggs in there. But I have I got a little one burner Coleman stove. This puts out, man, it's rated at like 10,500 BTUs. Even down low, it's just really difficult to control the heat. So, but it'll work good for seasoning this. You have to heat it up until it's really hot. You put grease shortening on it. I'll end up using vegetable shortening on this because it won't go rancid on me. And on this one, I'll coat the back side of it too. So this will be good to go. This one here, I'll have to coat both sides in the front and on the bottom. I might just leave this. Might just put a thin layer on here. But yeah, I intend to. There's still a lot of life left in this pan, and it's in really good shape. So I'm not sure if I can. I'm not sure if I can demonstrate the ring on these or not. Let me put the camera down. See if I can get it to. See if I can get it pointed in the right direction. Don't have my tripod ready to go. I'll put it like this. What am I looking at? Yeah. Alright, so that'll work. So you hold it up in the air, and you just take something metal and clink it, and you should hear it ring like a bell. I'm not sure if even the waffle maker will ring. If these have been if these have been overheated and then dropped in cold water, they could develop a crack. And once once they develop a crack, it'll sound absolutely dead. But the exceptions are the tiny pieces that are really thick walled. It's hard to get a good ring off them, but it'll sound absolutely flat if it's got a crack in the bottom. And then the other thing that to watch out for is you check the bottoms. You pick them up and you put them on something flat. And if they'll sit flat and don't wobble or clink, then it's pretty much not warped. But it's easy to get some warpage in them. This one's got a tiny amount of warping going on, but it's not enough to really cause an issue. There's a tiny amount of warping coming down right about in here, but it's still a really good pan. Even though it's a no-name pan, it's still a really good pan. So you don't need a big brand name if you're collecting as some kind of investment. Then these labels and brand names make a difference. If you're picking up a cast iron pan to use, the only thing it needs to be is smooth on the inside. It's got to be crack free and not warped, and then it'll be as good as anything else. As long as it cooks your food, that's the bottom line. All right, we'll call this one done.